Hello everybody, once again we have an opportunity to get stuck in to the mind and thoughts of a legend as far as South African football is concerned, and I'm speaking to a man who's pretty much, like we've done before, spoken to one club men. I think Esrom Nyandoro falls into that basket of legends, a man who is synonymous with Mamelodi Sundowns and has been there where, you know, you see this evolution from the club that was successful before. But you know, once a certain chairman came in, things took a turn for the better and on an upward trend. So let's scroll back right to the beginning. Welcome, Mr. Nyandoro. Thank you so much for joining me. And it's good to chat to you. You're a very quiet man who does a lot of his talking on the pitch. So I want to try and get all this out of you. But maybe at the beginning, how did you arrive at Sundowns?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Yeah, it was a good journey and a weird one. I know most of the time the president always says we wanted a striker, but we managed to get Esrom. And I remember I was with the national team in Swaziland, Kosafa. I think Kabozondo was there. He was the chief scout at that point in time, and he'd come to see a striker from Zim. But unfortunately, they saw number three. So that's how I came to Sundowns. And immediately, Kabozondo phoned Sundowns that, you know what, the striker was supposed to play, did not play, he was on the bench.
Right.
And that day, Peter Ndlovu flew to come and play. So he had to replace the striker. So, yes, the game we won 6-1. The game didn't end, but on the day, I think I impressed the scouts who were there.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, at that point, though, what was your exposure to football? Obviously, you're saying you're with the national team, but what was the level that you were playing at? And did Sundowns at the time feel like the natural progression?
Playing back home, I was playing for Amazulu. There was a team called Amazulu Football Club.
Right.
And the team was more like an independent team that was being owned by Delma Lupepe. And I was playing in the Premier League in Zim. I started playing for Amazulu at the age of 16. And and national team I started playing it when I made my debut when I was 21 years old.
Right.
So, of course, before that, there was a time where I came to Dangerous Duckies previous year.
Okay.
Before Sundowns saw me.
Yes.
And I think Robert Gumete was in charge at some point and he wanted to sign me. But the guy back home in Zim, Delma Lupepe, said, no ways, you cannot never go and play in Division 1. So I would rather call Chiefs. So he started making all these calls to Kaizer Chiefs and other stuff. And because he was a fan of Kaizer Chiefs.
Right.
And I was supposed to go to Dangerous Duckies. It didn't happen. He tried to persuade me to go to Chiefs. Chiefs says they still have Tinashe Ngomasha.
Right.
So I ended up at Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club the very same year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're at Sundowns. What did you know about the club before arriving there? And maybe you can take us through how it was taking to the pitch for the first time in that Sundowns jersey.
Of course, I did follow South African football. And the funny thing, and when I was at school, I used to put, when you're at school, you cover your books with pictures. Yes. I used to put all of our Bafana players. And I used to tell this to Andrea Rens that I had my maths book. It had your picture.
Yes.
On as a cover.
Yeah.
So
did that make me hate maths or hate Aaron?
No, because I love football. All my books were covered with soccer players.
Okay.
So even the teachers, they know when it's time for football at school.
Right.
They will just say, "Listen, don't even ask, just go out."
Okay. Nice.
So yes, coming back to arriving at Sundowns, of course, 2004. It was a fairly new. I think Patrice had just taken the team 100%. We had almost 11 to 12 players there, new players. I stayed with Vuyo Mere, Siponunians. So the welcoming was good. And like I said, I followed South African football, the likes of Otso Villagas at Pirates, the Tinashe Ngomashas.
As you maybe take us through that first time you put on the Sundowns jersey. I mean, I'm guessing you'd met all the players. You welcomed in a warm manner, to the new club. As far as taking to the field for the first time, how was that?
Wow. I think my first official game was spectacular. I think the game was against Pirates. I remember that time we were being coached by Udoleza. I've never walked in such a crowd because, spectacular. You will have certain groups, certain supporters in each state. It was fully packed, FNB. Doleza just came to me to say, Esrom, just go and enjoy your game. My decision is final. I've finalized with the management that they must sign you. But it was just something amazing.
Yeah.
And the kit was oversized. So because I was just tiny that time, and it was something that I've always wanted to play in a capacity like that one, and it was just amazing.
I mean, we talk about capacity, and I guess, only the players who are playing at some of the bigger clubs will know what it's like to have full stadiums. Obviously, when you think about the big three playing. Yeah. What was it like then in terms of people actually coming to the stadiums? That, when they talk about the 12th man, was that something that a lot of teams enjoyed more of back in the day?
Yeah, you're right. And obvious with the support base of Kaizer Chiefs, they've got more supporters, Pirates. And for me, I've never experienced, obvious, coming from Zim, Amazulu, a small team, we didn't have much supporters. But for me, just to be there and the sound system as well, people chatting, singing, was just something amazing and something that always plays in my mind. And the 12 men plays a big and a huge role. Yeah.
And let's talk about the psychology in terms of, obviously, making the step up to a league like the South African League at that time. What were some of the biggest changes and adaptations that you had to maybe make to your game?
Professionalism, met different people, different countries, the Osaka Tiens, Robson Kilambe, but how we communicated as a team and how we gelled as a team was something amazing. And when it comes to professionalism, was in Zim we used to train with our own kit, but here everything was being provided, the soccer boots, the any strings after training, and one of the best leagues in here in South Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's talk about some of the people you came across in your career. Let's start getting into some of your more favored or not favored opponents when you took to the field. What was the toughest team that maybe gave you a bit of a baptism of fire when you first arrived in the league? What were some of the tougher opponents at that time?
I like to play against the big teams. Of course.
You got BMT.
Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, Supersport, but I was not like when it comes to Supersport. That's Supersport of Pitso Mosman.
Right.
I remember there were times where even if we were being drawn with Supersport, we know that Sundowns is out.
Oh, wow.
But Villagas was also one of the guys who gave me a torrid time. But playing against him in the spectacular, I remember I was also looking for a job. I hadn't signed. So I went with him all the way. The second game, it was Shoes Moshio, the late Mayso, rest in peace. But one hell of a good guy. And, we kept communicating during the game. He was asking me, where are you from? And I said, no, you're doing well. That made me feel at home as well, So, but like I said, the big three, Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, and Supersport were those teams that I liked to play.
That is such a nice gesture from Jamsho because, it's almost like something a teammate would say, but that's your opponent speaking. So on that note, in terms of teammates, guys that you played with, that you felt, you were on the same wavelength, you read each other's minds, that's how well you played together. What were some of the best partnerships you think you had over the years?
Godfrey Sapula, Surprise Moriri, just Zaza, just to mention a few. And I think when it comes to Surprise, we had that understanding. Surprise is one hell of a player, and also a joker as well. He likes to joke, he likes to play around. And Sapula, I used to tell him that, listen, I will work for you, but make sure when I get the ball, I want you must be available. Yes. So there was that kind of understanding within the team. And Clement Mazbuga as well. I also played with him. One top player that I played with, and basically Ovuyomero, Tabiso Ramirez. So all these guys, they made me feel at home.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, we can't compare the teams in our generation and this one. Us with that one spirit where we used to fight for each other, and
now, what do you think is the game?
The game has developed so much, and I've seen, not to mention the names, I've seen players who also wants to play for themselves, individual. But when we played, it was different.
Right.
We didn't have the so-called star, but we could work as a team.
Yes.
Or Benson Mhlongo, Michael Manzini, the late Oscar Ntohai. So we're not stars. You know, all you need
But
love.
together, collectively.
Together.
Yeah.
You know, that time, I think I would say maybe 4 or 5 years. If you see one Sundowns player, you'll see all. You know, after training, we'll just go and eat together.
Right.
All you need love or lerato chabang. So, yeah, and now it has changed.
Right.
You know, you have head players who come and also wants to play individual.
Yeah.
I always say football is always a collective.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, take us into that psychology of forming those relationships, and maybe, you know, it might allude to why we don't see it as much today. Was that something that the coach would say, hey guys, you guys need to learn each other, or is it just you had an interest in that person as another human being?
You know, it's funny. I'm glad you asked that question. The person that I'll give credit is Peter Ndlovu.
Okay.
I think he comes in a culture where in UK, because also Peter joined us in 2004.
Yes.
That culture where when they win, they go out for drinks.
Right.
So he introduced that culture at Sundowns.
Okay.
So I was that kind of a person who likes to play.
Yep.
After I'm done with my games, I go home. I remember one day he says, he used to say, guys, after training, people must bring jeans and jacket. We are going, because you'll organize maybe a table or something like that.
Yes.
And then go and have fun. And then I'll always save some excuses to say, it's fine, no, I'm going to change home. And then I'll never show up.
Yes.
You know?
Sneaky bounce, they call
So
it.
one of these days, I think he brought a jean and a t-shirt and a jacket. They said, you are not going anywhere. We are going together.
Yeah.
So to say, I think Peter played because of the culture that they had in UK, because he used to tell us that, listen, that's how we celebrate, that's how we mourn our lose. So we go out, have 2-2,
Win
and
as
then
a team,
and
lose as a team.
as a team, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's Peter bringing that kind of thing into the mix. But, you know, I guess we could say at that time, like you say, Dr. Patrice coming in, things were starting to change. What are some of the other improvements that started to come in, you know, that showed that maybe now as a club, we found another level?
I think the mentality to win, you know, and Patrice will never take number 2 as an achievement. For me, I think I saw a boss who's a winner at the end of the day. And I think there was a time when I joined, we're out of top 10. Yeah. And then the following year, I think we finished number 3 or number 4. And there was a prize. I was just asking, are we going to get something? He says, no. You need to get number 1 to get something. So, of course, the mentality of winning, Patrice is a winner, and he installed into us, and also financial as well. Yeah.
I mean, you speak about the financial component. Bonuses are a thing, you know. Yeah. Is that something that, do you think is good for the footballing culture, you know, as far as incentives are concerned? Of a monetary sense, was that something that you found worked and still does work to this day? What's
we all love money. We all love money, and I remember there was a time when we were winning. Yeah. I think there was this. I'm not so sure whether the system is still there. I'm sure it's still there. When you win, it's on money.
Okay, and, like a multiplier.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
So you win first game, it gives you, for example, 2 rand. Yes. The next game, another 2 rand.
Right.
So it goes on. I remember we went for 18 games, unbeaten. At some point, he came in and said, you guys want to finish my money. You must take it easy. Yeah. So, yes, you feel good when you win. Incentives comes, for me, it comes secondary, but you just want to go out there and play for yourself, play for your family, and play for your fans. And that's what is important.
And who was a coach that you were willing to do that for the most? You know, you speak about the money being secondary. Who was the coach where if there was no money and he said, let's go into battle, you would still back him either way?
For me, I think Neil Tove was the guy. Neil Tove is even training sessions. I think there was a time when he took over with Komandi. Whether it's money or it's not money, but to be quite honest, money was not an issue at Sundowns.
Right.
But when it comes to his training sessions, how he talked to the players was just something else. For him, I think he put himself inside players' shoes.
Yeah.
So he was a player, not a coach.
Sure.
And I remember at some point he says, when it comes to Esrom, when he goes forward, make sure that someone is covering him. We know that we're going to get something. So there was that kind of understanding, and he knows when the team is down, how he brings the team together. And I think for me, Neil Tove and Gamondi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the coaches, I don't want you to name names as to who you didn't like, but the coaches that you didn't like their approach, what did they maybe get wrong? And, you know, we always have this discussion around international coaches coming in and maybe not understanding your struggle as a black man in Africa. You know, where another coach might be a bit more sympathetic to your circumstances. They know where you come from. They know your background. Do you find there were some coaches who just didn't get it?
Sure. I think I was coached by a lot of coaches, almost 12, eh? And I think there was a coach who came, was Stoshkov.
Yes.
Stoshkov left, and then he took over. I think that in my career, I think that was the one coach that I did not agree with this approach of the game.
Okay.
And no, it wasn't Stoshkov.
Yeah,
I think it's Habas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Habas.
Yes.
A game against Kaizer Chiefs. And not that I was taken out. I think I did something stupid at some point. Where I was taken out, I felt I was doing very well. And I did not greet his hands because how we prepared the game. We prepared a game, playing a big game like Kaizer Chiefs, defending how we should be marking Kaizer Chiefs. And I think with that time, I think I had 6 or 7 years with the team. You can go to a team like Sundowns, go to a game, how to stop Kaizer Chiefs. So for me, I think I did not approve with this approach that game. And but the rest we were okay. Trot, we were okay, and Trot will be the one say, Esrom, what do you think we should do?
Yeah.
You know, so he was that kind of my guy.
Okay, at least like he leans on the, the more experienced players, I guess. And then that leads me into my next point where we look at the psychology of players, you know. Sometimes people say football can be a lonely sport because, you know, people expect you to do well and everything is great when everything and everyone is winning. Yeah. But mentally and psychologically, were there any things that you had to contend with that then maybe, you know, whoever was a mentor in your life or even your family, you would go back to and say, listen, I'm struggling with this and that, because we can't assume that it was all perfect.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You mean any member of my family? Or
yeah, I mean, who did you lean on through tough times?
My late mom.
Yeah.
My late mom.
Yeah.
And I think I was so close with her. I was so close with my father, but when my father passed on, there was a huge difference when my mom passed on.
Right.
My mom, she was one of those person who call you after the game. Will call you when it's like 12 o'clock noon to your birthday and says, I'm the one who started.
Yes.
So he was my cheerleader, man.
For
sure. She had the problems of BP and sugar, but when things are not going well, she will say, my son, I'm praying for you, I'm fasting for you. Right. She will go to that extent to fast. You know, people with that condition, you are not supposed to fast. But
that was the sacrifice she was making.
Yeah, I think Yeah.
Yeah, biggest fan.
Yeah. So, my mom.
Yeah, I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you on that one. It's a very similar story. My
Yeah.
mom was the same. Biggest cheerleader, always called me.
Yeah.
We remember because you and I would have games, but for you it's
Yeah.
different. You're taking it to the pitch. I was pitch side,
Yeah.
but I know the sentiment
Yeah.
of having that cheerleader and someone in your corner throughout. And then in terms of now, like, are you a support structure for any of the current players? Are you someone that any of the players can lean on? Do you have a relationship with some of the current players where you help guide them?
I've spoken to a lot. Your Jablan Shongo, your Pesitao, of course, Kama Billiard.
Does it stick? Does it stick when you speak to these new guys? I mean, like, do you feel like it resonates when you give them advice, when you try to get it in their heads? Or are you dealing with a different kind of person now?
You are dealing with somewhat different, but there are few people can listen. And when it comes to advice, I always tell people, even when I'm speaking to you, to say, advice, you can take it or you can leave it, you know?
Right.
So you've got two separate. There are some people that I spoke with while they're still playing. And when I retired, to say, listen, football is a short career. And I thought this thing was not going to come to an end, but it came to an end. Are you investing? Are you doing something? You know, so yeah, I've spoken to a few and spoken to Pesitao, but you know, very good guy who listens. He says, listen, I'm hot man, I'm going to school. Hot man, I'm doing this. I said, don't mind. Do what you have to do.
Right.
But, you know, so yeah, I have spoken to some guys.
Okay. Before we reflect on life after football, maybe let's just recap on what you feel are some of your biggest achievements throughout your career. What are the moments that stick out for you amongst the 9-day trips to Sheffield? Which you could also tell us about. But I mean, what do you think are the milestones that are the easiest maybe to recollect?
I think winning collective as a team, winning the league, with Miguel and Niltov and Gomandi when they were co-coaches.
Right.
I think that one. And also winning the other two as well. So winning the league, I think, was my highlight. Yeah. And obviously, you can't miss the one that I scored against SuperSport, the goal of, I think, then it was voted the goal of the moment, you know. And I think, Pesca that season and also winning the league. So I like to do things as collective, not individual, because I always believe that football is a team sport. And so, yeah.
Do you still believe that the league is the biggest prize in this day and age of the CAF Champions League? When you think about the opponents that you're up against, you know, the northern teams invest heavily in some of the best players from Africa. And trying to bring good players to Africa. Do you think that the league is still the biggest prize for a team like Sundowns? Sundowns, I guess maybe it's a bit unique because, you know, serial winners where the priority then becomes the Champions League. But for any team, what's the biggest, in Africa, what's the biggest challenge and what's the biggest prize? Is it your own league or the Champions League?
I think the Champions League now. But for South African teams to do well in the Champions League, you all need your golden arrows to do well as well. We don't want to watch what happened last season, because at some point we were all saying it's obvious. Sundowns are running away with the league. We want Kaizer Chiefs. We want Pirates. You know, we want Celtics to have that competition. For sure. And during our time, I also struggled. Maybe one of the teams that I did not mention, I also struggled to play against Golden Arrows. Right. Yes. You know, at some point I would say, listen, I don't want to go to Golden Arrows. Because when they start winning, they'll do their own things. Right. You know, you had Black Leopards or Ruzan. I would collect yellow cards to avoid to go to Black Leopards. You know, so the competition was very tight. Right. But like I'm saying, South African League is still the best league. Right. But we also want these other teams to come to the party, because I feel like Sundowns, we fooled ourselves. That we ran riot in the league. When we went to CAF, we thought we are there. Right.
Right. So sometimes I guess people can make the same argument with a certain French team that when they play week in, week out, they look great, but the moment they go to the big boys, that's when they are truly tested.
South African teams, they also need to come to the party. The Kaizer Chiefs, your Pirates, your Golden Arrows, better than what we used to have previous, you know. So it worries me a lot, you know. And of lately, if you check in our time when we played, we used to have a lot of Ghanaians who will come and also add value in the league. Saka Tien, Ivory Coast will come in. If now I'm to ask you who's a Ghanaian who's here, you'll find it's one or two. There's no Ivory Coast. Of course, maybe they've also broken the system. These guys from West, they always want to go to overseas.
Right. So as opposed to where they used to come via South Africa, now they're just
going straight. And I believe we've got more talent here in South Africa as well. But we really need to improve, like huge to compete in that stage.
But on a technical level, or is it on a psychological level? I'm going to come back to this again because there's always been a criticism of our players, you know, and maybe you can take us into your confidence, how you were feeling when you went for that trial at Sheffield. You know, were you mentally already prepared for what followed next? Because the big argument is that a lot of our players aren't mentally prepared for what follows with leaving the comforts of being in this league.
I think mentally, yesterday I was with one of the legends, Tiko Modise. You know, he mentioned something that kept on ringing in my head to say, you know what, sometimes you work hard as a player. You want to get into that sport. You go into that sport. You start winning games, and then you'll find a coach says, "Okay, it's fine. We just want to try this one." I have worked hard to be in the team. And then he says, after winning 3 or 4, because the coach is confidence. The moment the team wins, everyone has that confidence. And then he says, no, it's okay. I just want to try this one. Let's see what it does. But I've worked hard to be in that team. So
are those things you take personally, or is it for the greater good?
It is for the good. But at the same time, like I said, mental, for this youngster to be there, he has to work hard. He mustn't get it cheap.
For sure.
But the moment he get it cheap, that means even his lifestyle. After football, everything, he thinks that things are just easy. I played, I'll give you an example. My first year, I played with Raphael Chuku, Robson Kilambe, Mdao, before he retired. There was a time when we would train with Dolez and we were training.
Right.
And I could hear people saying, hey, Mambush, easy, man. You are running too much. You know, Mambush will do what? He'll go and fight with the guy who says, I'm running too much. If you don't want to go home, you are wasting my time here. I'm here to work for my family. That was the mentality that was there. Played Super Sport. Robson Kilambo was supposed to cross to Raphael Chuku. He wanted to squeeze the ball. And then Raphael Chuku said, why don't you pass me the ball? He insulted him using something that I will not mention.
Right.
In the dressing room, those guys were fighting.
Came to blows.
And Peter Ndlovu was inside.
Yeah.
I told myself that, listen, this is my first season. I'm going back home. Big guys were fighting. That was that was the passion that we had. But nowadays, I don't know, maybe it's me. The passion is more on Instagram. After the game, the team loses, we're posting. Are we doing justice to the game? Are we doing justice to the coaches? There's some questions there.
Oh, those are important questions. Because now, obviously, you have to ask yourself that, you know, if you had to take guys with that same intensity and passion that you had and put them around the facilities, you know, because I think there's something to be said that every club has probably in the last 10, 15 years gotten better as far as what they can help you as a player become. Why don't players take clubs up on that? You know, you hear all these stories about even the top players taking 100 free kicks, taking 100 spot kicks. Why aren't the guys doing that? Especially when there's a direct causality between the effort and the reward.
Yeah, that's why I said it's all mentally. It's all in the head. And we used to have people taking. I used to stay behind, train, book myself in the gym, go train. You know, I know there are a lot of players who used to do that. But now we look at a shortcut. I'm done training. I'm going to Braai. What am I going to post? I want people to see me.
Yeah.
So football is all about passion. The question now, why do you still have people like your Cristiano Ronaldo keep going? You know, currently you can mention few. Your Shopo Kekan is still going strong.
Sure.
And you watch him at training, it's like
The intensity is
intensing and is still strong, you know, he still wants to go on, you know. And if every South African, if every African can have that passion that we had before and other current players they do have, I think South Africa will also be in a better state when it comes to our national team.
Okay, let's talk then about the hat that you're wearing nowadays, in that you're a scout. Just how did that come about?
After retiring, I stayed for two seasons doing my own stuff with Kwesi as well.
Right.
You know, so I think the owner of the team, Patrice, always keeps his word. He always says, you know, people like your Esrom, people like your Surprise, one day they will work for this team. One day they will be in charge of this team. And he kept his promise. Got a call, went back. I was asked, do you want to be in the juniors? Do you want to scout? I said, you know what, at the moment, I still want to test the waters, you know, and say, for now, I'm going to go with the scouting.
Right.
And went into under Walter Steenbok's hands. I fell in love. I fell in love with the scouting because the way he treated me, the way he was showing me how to do things, and how we traveled. And so at some point, I ended up in the scouting. And I could remember it was like saying, Esrom, I'm preparing you to take in charge one of these days.
For sure.
So, yeah, traveling is also nice,
Yeah.
but scouting, I did enjoy it.
So what do you think the club are leveraging there? Is it your tactical knowledge of the game? Is it your eye for talent? What skills do you think that the club were looking for you to bring into their scouting department?
I think you gotta have eye for talent. That's number one.
Yeah.
Two, obvious. I'd played for the team for 11 years. The history and yeah. So a lot of components. What does the coach wants within? Because of course we had different coaches, and they play in different certain ways. Try to match. Is he going to give us something in the next 2 years or 3 years? Is he a 1 year player or this and that? So a lot of factors came in, and also a lot of history and also the knowledge that I had with the team to say, you know what, I've given so much, but not everyone can give so much. But am I signing this 20-year-old boy? Is he ready to play now? Or is he ready to play in the next 2 years or 3 years? I think I would say the one that tops everything, I think the eye of a talent.
Okay, it was a controversial question, and you're part of the reason this question comes up sometimes is that aren't Sundowns hoarding talent? Aren't you guys holding on to a lot more talent than you need?
Oh, we get the best. If you do well, we get you. And you have to come and fight for your position. That's one thing about Sundowns. Sundowns is a winning team.
Yes.
Make no mistake about it. You win, you play, you are being given a chance.
Right.
You play, you do well, you stay in the team. And I think our boss, Patrice Motsepe, he has always said we want to be the best in Africa. So yes, that's why we signed the best in the country and also the best in Africa. I think we've also broken that record as well to go in South America. We've had a lot of South Americans coming to Sundowns.
Okay. And in terms of any personal goals, how do you become a better scout? Or is this just one part of it? Are you looking then maybe to move into coaching, or are you trying to grow the scouting?
Of course. The end goal? Of course. There is that feeling. I do coach my kids at some point, and they've got a club here. They've asked me to come and help.
Right.
So I do help the coachings with some coaching training sessions. And as a scout, obvious, I've got that passion with kids.
Right.
And obvious, one day you love to go to coaching, But at the moment, I'm enjoying scouting because now scouting is a bit unique.
Right.
It's different than before, where you used to watch videos. But now, for you to watch videos, you are being forced by the data and also the numbers.
Yes.
Is it worth for me to watch Kamza because Kamza is better than Spio?
Right.
Then I would rather watch Kamza than Spio.
Right.
I don't want to waste time with Spio because
Right.
the numbers are down.
Yes.
And I look at the positions within the team, the midfielder, who's the best player.
Yeah.
Ricardo has been consistent.
Right.
Kotsia, he has done so well.
Yeah.
So I have to do a benchmark with Ricardo.
Huh.
So if
Anyone comes in after.
anyone comes who's below
Yes.
Kotsia,
Yes.
why should I go and watch that guy?
Right.
I already have Kotsia, so I need somebody who's better than Kotsia. So the game has developed so much.
To that point, technology, are you a fan of it? Do you embrace it? How does it help you?
I don't like computers. I don't know. That's why I've got my guy
Yeah?
in the scouting who does data because
Okay,
a
he
lot
does
of
the capturing,
we do get a lot of players
Mhm.
from agents, South America. So I just collect them, give it to him.
Mhm.
Is it worth to watch? You'll come and say, I think it's worth to watch. I think it's something that we need that us or use Kotsia. Kotsia doesn't have, or
Right.
and then we just break it down and we go on.
So it helps make things a bit simpler
Yeah.
when it comes to the decision making.
Yeah. But me, like I said,
Yeah.
technology, no.
No?
I prefer to watch games. Even if he comes in with high numbers,
Yeah.
does Kamza fit this type?
Yeah.
There's also numbers can say something,
For sure.
but does not Kamza fit the sound on
Philosophy, exactly,
Yeah.
of the club.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, well, I mean, now, in terms of your scouting, who can we look out for? Who have you brought to the coach's attention? Are there any Esrom finds that we can look forward to seeing in the new
They're
season?
coming.
They're
They're
coming?
coming.
Yeah.
Let's just hold the thought there.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, the team is looking good. They've been into preseason for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what the needs of the team for the opening window.
Right.
And like we said, we just want to do well in Africa. So let's just hold that thought.
Okay. We wait with bated breath to see what you deliver, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a really, really illuminating discussion.
No, thank you so
Really
much. Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it, folks. Esrom Nyandoro taking time out to give us a nice, succinct description of his journey. The scouts went there looking for a striker. They found him. Now he's a scout finding the next batch of weapons for